Hey guys, welcome once again to the We Don't Know It All podcast. This is episode 6. First, I want to thank every single one of you guys for just checking out our podcast and showing us love. Today, we talked about sort of the destinations of places where we've been and places where we'd love to go. Now, our conversations always end up going back to food, but that's okay because everybody loves food. So tune in. You don't want to miss out on this episode, and here we go.
Hey, welcome back to the We Don't Know It All podcast.
We're back.
This is, as you heard in our intro, this is episode 6.
Episode 6. We made it. Now it's a serious thing.
Yeah, we've made it past episode 5. So this feels cemented. It feels real.
Listen, statistically speaking, most podcasts will die off by the 3rd or 4th episode. We're at number 6.
I didn't actually know that, but praise God. Hallelujah.
We got people asking for our merch.
That's true. And by
That's
people,
serious.
we mean a person also named Zeke.
Yes.
But
Shout out to Zeke.
shout out to Zeke. No, I mean, other people around the office
Yeah.
have seen us wearing it
Yeah.
and made comments. But
Yeah.
publicly, the only person we've got is Zeke so far. But that's okay.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Nikki wants a shirt too.
Hey,
Let's go. That's 2 people.
come on, somebody.
Evangelistic numbers, I could say that's like 20 people that are wanting.
That's true.
Praise
That
God.
is true. Come on,
Praise
somebody.
God. Yeah.
Well, I wanted to address this technically because
Yeah.
I feel like you and I have kind of seen this pattern. We've gotten some pretty good reviews
Yeah.
of the podcast.
Yeah.
And you said this to me privately, but it's one of those, like, they really could just be being nice to us, but it feels like more than that.
I want to say they're genuine. I
Yeah.
want to say that they care. I want to say that they wouldn't just say, yeah, it's good, and then it's not,
Yeah.
But there's one review that I got from someone, and it kind of hit exactly kind of what we're going for, right?
Yeah.
I heard this. I heard I enjoy the podcast because it feels like we're in a coffee house, and it's just us listening into the conversation that you and Caden would normally have, and that's perfect. That's what we want. We want organic, raw, like conversation that you could listen into.
Yeah, and which, truthfully, honestly, was the original goal of this
Yeah,
podcast.
absolutely.
The reason we didn't really have a theme, per se, was
Yeah.
because you and I just like to talk. And so at some point, it was like let's just record our conversations
Yeah.
and like invite people into
Yeah.
it. And so these, I mean, even the more serious ones are real conversations you and I either were having or would have been having either way.
Right.
But with that said, we've noticed, and I've heard other people say sometimes that like we're able to lean into that a little bit better on some of these lighter topics. And so that doesn't mean we'll never go back to like talking about books or.
We definitely will. However, we want to make sure that we're connecting. We want to make sure that you guys are, it's something easier for you to share.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's really who we are.
Yeah.
So
It's true.
it's been fun.
With that said, we're going to kind of continue these conversations on some of these lighter topics like movies, food. Today we're going to be talking about destinations, place we would like to go to, places we've been, some of our either funny or crazy stories from some of those places. Francisco is convinced that I have been to more
100%.
places than him.
100%.
I'm convinced that at the very least he's been to more of the U.S. than I have, even if I've been more outside of that. But, we'll see. We'll see as we talk about it and actually begin to define some of these things. But, and who knows, in the future we may talk about TV shows or whatever. If you got any topics you'd like to hear us talk
Drop
about,
them in the comments.
yeah, feel free
Let's
to send
go.
them to us, DM them to us.
Yeah.
But, well, Francisco, I know that people love to hear about kind of international destinations.
Yeah.
I think some of that is, okay, if I can't go to this place, then like I want to hear other people who
Right.
because I do that with certain things.
Yeah.
But before we get there, I really do want to hear kind of where you've been, your experiences within the U.S. per se.
Okay.
Because I grew up, my dad traveled a lot, and I got to go with him a lot, but I wasn't able to go all the time.
Yeah.
Like I was still in school. So because of that, there's places in the U.S. I've seen, but I primarily grew up in like Arkansas, Texas, Oklahoma. We would go skiing in Colorado.
Colorado's
we go
beautiful.
to Disney World. I went to Disney World a lot growing up. Well, I say a lot. Not like some of our friends, Shane and Kara, the Strong family. Nothing like that.
I think they own a piece of Disney World at this point.
Nothing like
Christ.
that. I think I've been like 6 times in my 22 years, something like that. But so I grew up going to Florida, but that was about it. Like since then, I there's other states I've been to, but it wasn't like a consistent thing.
Right.
But just some of your previous jobs and experience has kind of taken you around the U.S.
Right.
a lot.
So because of one of the jobs that I had, and we talked about this episode 2. Was it episode 2?
Jobs.
I did get to travel a lot, but I've always said this to people. Like, I've been everywhere, but I've been nowhere because I got to go into airports and then didn't really get to experience the state or what the state had to offer. And then sometimes there were small airports too, so it was kind of like, what am I doing here kind of situation.
Yeah.
But there were times where the way our schedule would work is I'd work 3 days or whatever, or if I was out of town a day, and let's say I couldn't catch a flight out the same day, we normally got 2 days off after any trip. So sometimes it would work out and I would get to hang out wherever we were at. So I did get to see a lot of the U.S. Now, probably the southern states I've visited most of them, if not all of them. Not so many of the northern states. I mean, I've been to the tri-state area, New York, New Jersey, that area there. And then I've been to Nebraska. I've been to, all that. I have never been to Iowa. I've never been to Washington State.
You ever been to Idaho?
No.
Me neither. I was just curious. I just like potatoes, so I always hear about that area.
Chasing the giant potato. Yeah. That would be cool. No, I've never been there. So, yeah, like, I mean, I visited some pretty cool places in the U.S. And it's weird because you don't really, I mean, you see it on a map, right? But it's a huge country.
Yeah.
And from state to state, people change. Like, you meet different personalities. Like, the way I met, there's a lot of people that I met when I was doing an internship up in Michigan. And Michigan's a beautiful state. I mean, it's so nice. It's cold.
I went this summer for the first time, and I didn't really get to see anything. But honestly, because I was there for 2 days for work. But the little bit I did get to see was really pretty.
You would love it. They have great coffee, amazing coffee.
There is an amazing coffee shop that I know is based out of Michigan, and so that doesn't surprise me. But really I didn't know that it was more than just that.
Really good, stinking good. And then you have parks that are like skating rings, but like in the winter and in the cooler temp months, they turn them into ice skating rings. Wow. They just naturally turn into that. They just fill them up with water, and then it's crazy. It's just it's a completely different world. And then you get to see the Great Lakes, and then the snow effect that comes from the Great Lakes. It's pretty cool.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is kind of cool. What is your... We'll get to me in a second. I have a follow-up question.
Okay.
I got a follow-up question. What is your kind of... Well, I guess this is a 2-part question.
Okay.
What is your favorite state that you've been to? Mm-hmm. And then to that, what is the state you want to go to the most, like next, that you've not seen yet?
We love Florida.
Okay.
Because we do go to Disney World a lot. And I enjoy the state. I really do.
Yeah.
The temperature could be better. It's a little humid and muggy. But I do like Florida.
Rains every 5 seconds.
Yeah, exactly. But I think it's because I related to a lot of really good memories. Yeah. I think that's why I love Florida.
Yeah.
But the state that I would like to spend more time at would definitely probably be Colorado.
Okay.
Mountains, the snow. I mean, I've never snowboarded in my life.
Yeah.
I've never skied or anything like that. So I definitely want to try that one day. But I think Colorado would be the state that I would want to spend more time. As the kids get older, like I can't take the kids up a mountain right now.
Yeah.
They're all over the
place. How old's your oldest?
The oldest is 8. So he's getting there.
But I think I learned how to snow ski when I was about 9.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they have little ski schools you can put your kids in. It's totally safe.
Yeah.
Depending on your kid's personality, they may or may not like that, but it's totally safe.
See, so my son would totally dig it.
Yeah.
My daughter, though, would probably be like, nah.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do it. I'll play with the snow.
It is funny to watch. There are kids in ski school, though, that are like the age of your... We had a little spill just then.
Well, party foul.
Yeah. But we did have... there were some kids in ski school that are about the age of your daughter.
Yeah.
And it's funny to watch these little kids so bundled up in their jackets they can't move. But they're skiing better than some adults I've seen just because they're like
a little
learning
ball
how.
just moving.
Yeah. it's pretty funny.
And it's funny because she's so tiny. She's like itty bitty. So, yeah. So
no, that's really cool.
But what about you? Like, where's your what part of the U.S. do you love the most? Maybe not just a specific state, but like what region, right? And then I'm gonna throw a curveball, like, because we talked about food last podcast.
Yeah.
Does it have anything to do with the food located in the specific to the region?
So I've been to definitely less places in the U.S., but I have been able to visit like L.A. That's really it in California. Like I've been down along the coast of L.A. Went there for my first anniversary with my wife, and we went to Disneyland and whatever. But that's about it in California. I'd love to go to San Francisco one day because I love that. Like I love the northern part of the U.S. Not like the tri-state area northern, but like Washington, Oregon, Northern California. Yeah. I love those kind of areas. And so I think Colorado, as of this moment, is probably my favorite state as a whole, just because I have been to more pieces of it. Yeah. And so I love the mountains. I love the coffee culture when you can find it. Truthfully, it's a little more spread out. But with that said, though, there are cities I would rather go to than states as a whole. Okay. So truthfully, Seattle's one of them. And that is because of kind of like what you were saying. Like there is a wide food culture there. And there's a huge Asian like food kind of district. And Asian food, I mean, I love Southern cooking, but Asian food is probably one of my absolute favorites. And so it was the first time I ever tried dumplings, like real Chinese dumplings, like the fluffy ones that you see in movies and stuff, was in Seattle. Yeah. And I don't know, soup dumplings, I just love them. I love all of it. So I think Seattle.
The weather and I don't know.
The fact, as long as it's not foggy, you see Mount Rainier in the background. Nice. When I went to Seattle, it was for my 21st birthday. My parents, our family vacations every year always deal with the lake or
some kind of outdoor.
It's always outdoor, but more than that, it's always hot. Yeah. And I love cold weather and mountains. Yeah. And truthfully, my family does too, but we were just always free in the summer, and they didn't want to. They like snow skiing and, well, I say snowboarding, but none of us have ever snowboarded. But they like doing that in the mountains, or my dad likes to hunt in the mountains. Yeah. But they didn't want to just go hiking, you know. So in the summer, we would never go do that. So they, for my 21st birthday, the three of us, my parents and myself, went to Seattle, and I got to plan everything. So it was one of my like dreams. Nice. The famous like public market, the fish market, like in Seattle, we got an apartment like right across from that, on Airbnb or whatever. And I wanted to do that because I didn't want to go see the fish market. I wanted to get fish from the fish market and cook it. And you can't do that in a hotel. So we got an apartment so that I could go buy like a fish and actually cook it in my apartment. And it was, I mean, an absolute, like one of the best experiences to see the original Starbucks Reserve, to try the 2-story Starbucks Reserve, to try all the different coffee shops that I've always heard about as a coffee connoisseur, you know. And there's so much that I left on the table that I wasn't able to do. Yeah. Like they had a freak snowstorm, so I didn't even actually get to go to the mountain. They told me I could, but that it would potentially be hard to get in and out. It was the coolest REI I've ever seen in my life. Really? They had a rock climbing wall outside the front door, like up the side of the building. Yeah. Nice. Anyways, so I love Seattle. Colorado, as of this moment, is my favorite state. But Seattle specifically, I love Seattle.
So that's crazy. I want to go to Seattle so bad. We almost went there for our anniversary, and it just didn't pan out. We just got a really good deal to go to New York, and we just couldn't pass it up. And then not only that, but there's a lot of good food in New York, and I think we're the same in this sense. Like we literally went straight to Chinatown one day because we wanted to try the dumplings and all that stuff. And it was so good. It was probably the cheapest meal we had in the whole trip too.
Convincing my parents to do that was much more difficult, but I think as a whole they still enjoyed it.
Yeah. So then here's my question. Have you ever taken a trip where it was like not planned? Or maybe you planned it, but it was like not your usual, like, hey, we're going to go this place in 2 months. But it's like a spontaneous, like here, and it ended up being a really cool adventure. Have you ever done anything like that?
No, not like a real one. There's a now famous coffee shop in Northwest Arkansas called Onyx Coffee Lab. And that coffee shop inspired me for a long. I used to think I was going to open a coffee shop. Who knows? Yeah. Maybe I still will. But
you will.
Who knows? We'll see. But they kind of. I was born in Arkansas. Yeah. Arkansas is not exactly known for being like the front runner on hip culture or anything, you know. But Onyx was killing it. Like their coffees were award winning. Now they've had baristas, like they've sponsored through like the World Barista Championship, like things like that, you know.
Out of Arkansas.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So now some people at this point, people are going to them to learn. So like not everybody they're pushing through is originally from there. Right. But they've built a name for themselves and they're really good.
That's cool.
And so I convinced Juan Carlos and I don't know if you've ever met my other friend Brennan. It was like my freshman or sophomore year of college. And I convinced them that we should go on a trip like during our Christmas break for a couple days. So we went and stayed for my grandma and then drove to Fayetteville, which is where Onyx is in Northwest Arkansas. Yeah. And we just spent a whole day there. We like went to the coffee shop. We went hiking up a mountain and like did all of these things. That's probably, but in terms of what you're like really asking, I don't know that I've done like a real trip super spontaneously.
You have to.
I do need to.
Those are the best.
Yeah.
Where you just don't plan it, and you're like, I got a couple days off. Let's see what happens. Yeah. Now, like I have kids now. I can't just pop out of here. I have kids and dogs. Yeah. So I can't just pop out of here. But it is fun. It's fun to do that. Yeah.
Do you find yourself spending more money on your spontaneous trips because things weren't planned out?
Yes and no.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, because obviously you're not getting the same deal or whatever. It usually tends to translate more in the sense of like you're either gonna drive there because the flights are like super expensive, so it adds a little bit more discomfort, and then it adds a little bit more of a you're wasting some of your days off. Yeah. But so I'm gonna tell you a crazy adventure that I did with my brother and a good old friend of ours. I had just bought a Mini Cooper.
I think we've talked about this before.
About the Cooper.
Was that because of the Italian job?
That's why I bought it.
That's what I thought.
I bought a blue one with white stripes on it.
That's what I thought.
Literally. I bought it, and it was right around the end of July when I bought it. And so I would attend every single National Youth Convention. I was a fine arts kid. I did it all. Well, there was a soccer game happening in LA, in Pasadena, at the Rose Bowl. It was probably Monday when we decided to go, and we took off Wednesday. Like that. I took a couple days off. I think my brother wasn't working at the time. My other friend would just drop everything and do it because we were going to do it. So we jumped in my little Mini Cooper. We drove all night. Didn't stop at all. It was 3 of us. So we would just, one would sleep, the other one would drive, and so on and so on. Drove all night, got to Pasadena. Stayed the night at I think it was a Super 8. Yeah. I don't even know what it was. It was the cheapest hotel, whatever we could find. We stayed there that night. So this is Wednesday. We get the Thursday night. The game was Saturday. We hung out all day Friday in California. And then the next day we went to the game. We go to the Rose Bowl. Now it was Barcelona against the LA Galaxy. Barcelona had just come out of winning all 5 cups. So
the
imagine,
country. Oh, I guess Barcelona's not really.
No, it's the club. Yeah, it's the club. Yeah. So there's 5 tournaments that they enter yearly. Okay. And they swept the board. Like they won every single trophy.
And they're playing LA Galaxy.
They're playing the LA Galaxy. But check this out. I mean, obviously the MLS is very, the soccer league here in America. But they were playing David Beckham's LA Galaxy. So David Beckham hadn't retired yet. So we're like, this is a once in a lifetime opportunity. That is kind of cool. Yeah. You have to go meet David Beckham. You get to meet all the stars of Barcelona. And then not only that, but they were going to bring every single one of those cups and you could take pictures with them. Never again will I get the chance to take a picture with the Champions League Cup. It's just not going to happen. Or the World Cup of Clubs Cup. Like, that just doesn't happen. So they brought him over. We took pictures and did all that.
Do you have a picture with David Beckham?
I don't.
Dang.
I don't. I don't have any pictures with any of the players. But it was like it was such a good, like, it was crazy. After the game, we didn't have a hotel to stay at. Yeah. So we literally drove back right after the game.
Wow.
That's exactly what we did. Now, it took us, it's to this day, it's the highest attended sporting event in U.S. history. 110,000 people.
Wow.
It took me 4 hours to get out of that parking lot. Until we were like, forget this. We, like, Mini Cooper going through, like, the grassy areas and, like, jumping over curves and all kinds of stuff because we needed to get out of there.
I would have just slept. I think I would have just been like, forget it, guys. We're sleeping in the car.
See, here's the thing. I couldn't. Because I needed to get to Dallas the next day. Because I had a flight to catch. So we drive all night. We get back into Dallas 4 a.m. And I had a flight to Florida at 8:30 to get to the National Youth Convention in Orlando.
But that was the most exhausted you've ever been.
I was so exhausted. And then the guy that was supposed to pick me up at the airport forgot to pick me up.
Wow.
So I was there for like another 2 hours till they figured out that I was at the airport.
Goodness.
So coast to coast in 4 days, drove half of it. It was a great adventure.
Wow.
It's a great adventure.
That's crazy. Yeah. Crazy. I need to do a spontaneous trip.
Just get out there, man. Just drive. Just take off.
Dang. Well, let's shift then, I guess, to international countries. Okay. I don't know. Honestly, I don't know where you want to go with that, but I feel like you can't talk about destinations without including the like outside of the U.S. So you've clearly been to Mexico.
Yes.
Obviously.
Yes.
But outside of that,
that's it.
Are you serious? That's it?
That's really it. Yeah.
So I guess you were right then.
I'm telling you, I have not. Like, now, okay, so how many countries have you been to? You're going to say like 8 countries.
No, it hasn't been like that. It also
depends. 7.
No, it's not. It really isn't. Sometimes it depends on your definition of visiting a country. I mean, I've had layovers in countries, but I never was able to leave the airport. Gotcha. So it's like, I don't know if that counts, you know. I went with my dad to Malaysia in 8th grade. Before that was primarily Mexico. Mm-hmm. So like you'd find like an all-inclusive resort that had a really good deal, and that's where we would go, you know, like for vacation one summer. Yeah. But then in 8th grade, my dad was going to speak in Malaysia at their like basically their version of General Council. Yeah. I mean, it's essentially the same thing, just internationally. But and so because he was going to speak there, he invited me to go with him. It was over my spring break or pretty close to it. And so I flew to Malaysia with my dad.
How long of a flight is that?
Well, it depends on the route you take. We flew, I'm pretty sure, directly to London. And that's, I mean, depends on the flight plan, but around 9 hours, you know, 11 hours-ish. Yeah. And then we flew somewhere else in Asia, but that's where Amsterdam, maybe. Okay. Getting to Malaysia, I'm not sure. What I know is at somewhere in there, either the way there or on the way back, we went to Tokyo. And in Tokyo, we landed in Tokyo.
That's like the Mecca of food.
Yeah,
I would love to go there.
I would love to too, but I didn't get to leave the airport. Yeah. So that's why I'm like, I've never actually been to Japan, but I'd love to go to Japan, you know. We landed in Tokyo, and this is probably the most insane international traveling story I have, I guess. Primarily because I was in 8th grade. Like, if this happened to me now, it wouldn't be a big deal. But I was how old are you in 8th grade? Like 13, you know? So 14. So we were going to miss our flight. Like, we landed and there was supposed to be connecting flight. And because of when we booked them, they were like really close together. And so my dad is like running through this Tokyo airport. Well, then I'm trying to follow my dad through the Tokyo airport, but there just gets too many people in between us, and he makes a turn, and I lose him. And so I'm just like wandering. I'm literally lost in Tokyo. Yeah. I'm just wandering around this airport, and there were some signs in English, but the majority of them, at least at the time, were like all Japanese lettering, you know? Like sometimes if I'm in Mexico, I don't read Spanish, but I can kind of figure out where I'm going, you know? It's close enough, and I've heard enough Spanish in my lifetime that I can kind of figure it out. It just looks like pictures in Tokyo. Like they're just lines, you know? Which is really cool, actually. But that does not help me figure it out. So after a few minutes, my dad realizes I'm not behind him, and he starts making his way back to me. And so it wasn't like I didn't have some breakdown or anything. It's just like 13-year-old Caden wandering around Tokyo Tokyo airport because he like doesn't know where he is or what he's going. But yeah, so I want to say the whole trip was close to 20 hours, but also I haven't been back since I was in, 8th grade, so I don't really remember. So anyways, I guess to answer your original question, I've been to Malaysia, Singapore, South Africa, and Mexico. That's it.
I'm going to tell you something. You have probably visited more places in Mexico than I have.
That may or may not be true.
I've only been to 2 states in Mexico.
Okay, so here's my problem. Crazy. Here's my problem with Mexico. Now we're getting really into a personal conversation. Everybody else is just watching. But I don't fully understand the layout of Mexico. So I know that I've been to Cancun, Playa del Carmen. Is that even technically a part of Mexico? Sort of.
Yes. Quintana Roo is the name of the state.
Okay.
I think so. Don't kill me if I got that wrong.
I think that's it. I went to Costa Rica. I have been to Costa Rica. That's that's an entirely different country.
Different country.
I'm sure maybe I've been to some resort that's outside of that I can't think of. But I feel like for the most part, our resorts were in Cancun or Playa del Carmen.
Here's the thing, like my family didn't really believe in family vacations. So I didn't get to travel until I was older and I was able to take myself places. So yeah, I will say this, and I have to mention this because otherwise, it wouldn't be good. There's this place, my dad's birthplace is a small little town in Mexico called Cuatro Cienegas.
Okay.
It's this little place. Now, that is where one of the biggest, one of the guys that started the Mexican Revolution was born in that same little deal. Okay. And they have like all kinds, like that's why the place is famous. Now it's small, but they have like statues and you see his face every corner. That's how they do it down there. But there's this little area where you go, it's like literally like a hole in the ground, and you go swimming there. But it's in the middle of a desert, so there's mountains around you, white sand, which makes no sense, and then there's just crystal blue water, and it's just like a hole, and you get in there and it's freezing, like freezing cold, and it doesn't make sense because all the little rivers around there are like dirty, and they have like it's water coming down from the mountains or whatever. Like that whole area doesn't make sense. There's even quicksand around, so you got to be careful when you're going into the thing or whatever. Well,
it's probably the only place in the world. I mean, not really, but that's the only time I've ever heard someone say there's actually
like legit quicksand. I mean, from what I've heard, I don't know if they were hyping up the story because I was young and they were trying to scare me, but I've heard that whole buses have gone down.
Wow.
Like it's crazy. But anyways, like you go there and it's like freezing cold, crystal blue. Like some areas are protected by the state because it's like this really nice place or whatever. But they did a test on the water and they threw dive bombs. So divers went down in there and they threw these dive bombs to see where the water was coming from because they couldn't figure it out.
Yeah.
You know where the water the dye came out of?
No.
The Great Lakes.
Really?
It's insane.
Like the United States Great Lakes
Michigan.
Were filling this place in Mexico.
There's an underground whatever, and it took months. But they finally tracked it down, and they had like a whole team of, I guess, geologists or whatever trying to figure it out. And
can you imagine, like, because I would have never. I mean, I'm sure maybe they had a theory. I don't know, but I would have never guessed the Great Lakes. So I would have set off this dye bomb and would have never thought to go, let's go see if the dye is coming out of the Great Lakes now, like 6 months later, you know? Like that would have never, once again, I was not trained to do any of this. But that thought would have never
I don't even know how
mind.
that's even possible that like you could set off a dye bomb and then it eventually ends up.
Yeah, truthfully, I would have thought the dye would have like dissipated or whatever in that amount of time.
Makes no sense. But they tracked the water source coming from the Great Lakes.
That's crazy.
And there's certain like animals there. There's certain like that you don't find anywhere in the entire country of Mexico except for that area.
Yeah,
which is crazy. So that's where we vacationed at when we were kids. They'd like, let's go take you there.
That's
and now
cool.
It's like super expensive to go there. Like you have to pay like, and they're like, no, we're not gonna go there. Cool.
That's kind of cool.
I took my kids there though, because a lot of they did baptisms there, like the church did, and all kinds of stuff. So I took my kids there. I took Evan there one time, and he loved it. Had a blast. Yeah, but yeah,
I've got very few things on my bucket list. I've never taken the time to actually write out my bucket list, but one of the things always has to do with food and travel. Yeah. So it's like I love Japanese food, or at least American Japanese food. I don't know how it compares, but I have always wanted to eat Japanese food in Japan, and I'm obsessed with Japanese culture. Yeah. Compared to a Christian perspective, there's a lot about it that I don't agree with. Yeah. But I love Japanese culture, from the honor that samurais used to carry, the code that they lived by, the discipline that they all lived with. Yeah. And that, obviously, I don't necessarily agree with everything. Right. But so I'd love to go to Japan or eat Italian food in Italy. That would be great too.
That would be legit. Yeah, that would be great. I just want to go somewhere where they have good food.
Yeah,
that's literally every time we go anywhere. I tell Christy, like, we're just gonna go out there and eat. Yeah, and eat and eat and eat.
You got one country you want to go to before we close this out?
I do want to go to Spain. I want to go to Spain.
Too. That's awesome.
I want to go to the capital, Madrid. I hear they have amazing food, great soccer, and it's just good people. That's what I keep hearing. Yeah. It's just like everyone's super friendly to you. And I want to go to Spain. Dang. What about you?
Other than the two food related ones, I think I'd like to go to Switzerland. I've always wanted to see the Swiss Alps because I love to ski and hike and stuff.
I would love to go to Germany one day, but I hear it can be kind of rough.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's exactly accurate, but if you're from Germany, I'm sorry.
We do have a listener that listens to us that lived in Germany for a little while.
Really?
Tony Gilbert.
Oh, yes.
But hey, cool. I opened this up. Why don't you close this out?
All right, guys. Well, thank you so much. This was episode 6.
Yeah, 6.
We're getting there. We're gonna do some crazy episodes coming up. It's gonna be a lot of fun, guys. Stay tuned for the rest of this season. It's gonna be a lot of fun, and really, we'd love to hear your comments, your reactions. What do you think about the podcast? And I think I echo Caden's voice when I say we really do thank you for just tuning in and checking it out and sharing with your friends.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much. Have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye.
Peace.